Okay, so what I have here is just I want you to start thinking about. Research shows if you can organize this information in your head, if you can file it away neatly in a way that makes sense to your brain, then your brain will better be able to recall that same information. It's, just like anything else. If you file the papers away, you'll know exactly where they are. You can go straight to the file, get it out, and do what you need with it, that information. So what I want you to think about here is we have a bunch of different angle pairs that we have talked about in this lesson, and I want us to organize those into basically two main categories. We have the angle addition postulate, which is anything that's going to be parts adding to a whole. And then the other category, the other main category, are things that are the same size, same shape. They're congruent. And so I want us to take these concepts for a minute and think about them. For example, vertical angles. Are they generally two angles that are adding to a whole, or are they generally two angles that are congruent? And so I would put them on the vertical angles category. So we can kind of split these two into two different things, two different categories. The second one is complementary. Now, you might remember with me from the beginning of the lesson that complementary are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So I'm thinking of an angle and another angle that adds to a whole. The whole just happens to be 90 degrees. So I'm going to add complementary angles over here because it's part plus part equals 90 degrees, basically. All right. So we did that one. Let's look at supplementary. Same idea. This one is part plus part equals whole. The difference is on this one, it's an angle plus another angle adds up to 180. Then we have angle bisectors. Angle bisectors are usually, we know that word bisect means to split into two equal parts. So these are usually angles that are equal to each other. So I'm going to put this on the angle bisector side. I won't say it would never go on the angle addition side, but generally we're talking about two angles that are congruent. And then lastly, the linear pair. Linear pairs are angles that are back-to-back, form a line, add to 180. This is linear pair. Similar to supplementary, it is part plus part equals 180. Remember, the only difference between linear pair and supplementary is that supplementary, they don't have to be back-to-back, form a line. It can be any two random angles that add to 180. So I just want you to organize those, kind of keep that filed away in your head, whether or not the angles are parts adding to a whole or equal to each other. All right, so now we're going to take these words in example 7, now that we know about these different angle pairs, and we're going to transfer this into equations. So for example, part A reads, angle ABC and angle EBF are a pair of vertical angles. So I'm just going to draw us a picture because it helps me to see it better. Okay, so ABC and EBF. This is what you should be picturing in your head. All right, and it says ABC is 3x plus 8 and EBF is 2x plus 48. And what are the measure? Remember, M stands for measure of ABC and the measure of EBF. So maybe without even drawing the picture, without even being able to visualize this, you remember that vertical angles are always congruent. So you would equal these two things to each other, the 3x plus 8 and the 2x plus 48, right? When you think about the word vertical angles, I hope you're automatically thinking about equaling things to each other. Okay, from here I'm just going to solve this equation. So I'm going to get all my x's on one side. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, and so that gives me x plus 8 equals 48. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides, and so x equals 40. But wait, there's more, because we were supposed to be finding the measure of angle ABC. So I'm going to have to plug that back in. Angle ABC, the measure of is 3x plus 8, so that's going to be 3 times 40, which is 120, plus 8 would be 128. Man, I should have drawn my angles obtuse instead of acute. And then I shouldn't even have to find EBF. I'm going to, just because I want to check myself and make sure I did this correctly. When I plug this back in, these should come out to be congruent, right? They should both come out to 128. So 2x plus 48, 2 times 40 is 80. 80 plus 48 is 128. So they are congruent. I would say we did this correctly. So pause the video and let's make part B a you try and give it your best effort, and we'll come back and check ourselves. Okay, so the first clue we have is that these two terms are complementary, and by now I hope you're beginning to become familiar with the fact that complementary means two angles add up to a whole. It's just that on complementary, the whole is always 90, right? So then we plugged in the two parts, so 2x minus 3 and 5x plus 2. Right? Those were the two parts that we're adding to the whole. From here, because these two parts are on the same side of the equal sign, we're going to combine like terms. 2x and 5x is 7x. Negative 3 and positive 2 is negative 1. We're going to add 1 to both sides. So let's cancel and we get 7x equals 91. And then divide by 7 and x equals 13. Then we would plug those back in. What is the measure of angle JKL and the measure of angle MNP? Okay, so we're going to plug these in. So that would be 2 times 13 minus 3. So that's 26 minus 3, or 23. And if we did this correctly, MNP should be 90 minus 23, right? That would be an easy way to find the other answer, but we're going to just do it this way just to check ourselves. So 5 times 3 plus 2, 5 times 13 plus 2. Okay, so, sorry about that, 5 times 13 is 65 plus 2, which comes out to, 67. So those do indeed add up to 90. So I would say we did that right. So homework tonight is Math Excel number 6, angle pairs.